But you talk about jokes, but the show does strike the perfect balance between, you know, you have to manage the narrative arc, but you also have to manage the drama. So how much comedy are you cutting out of each episode to sort of keep everything in balance?
We never cut jokes. Both Mark and I are definitely writing the art. Yeah. So we don't, you know, I think one of the, hopefully a strength of the show is the way we look at it is if there isn't a major plot development, if there isn't a major moment of drama or a fright, we'll put some jokes in. So there's always quite a lot of gags in the show. Well, they're meant to be gags. The advantage of it being a drama, if the gag doesn't work, you can just pretend it was a serious.
But yeah, it's like I always say this, it's like life. I think there's such a false distinction between comedy and drama. Life is always a mixture of the two. We talked about this today, the times you feel, you know, the most under pressure to behave, the times you get hysterical, it's like laugh about things, and as in life, your release from a terrible dramatic situation is often humour, and that's the way it should be. It shouldn't be a false distinction, it has to be all po-faced or all straightforward comedy.
But what's great is that in the beginning of the series, a lot of the jokes were very meta jokes about the concept of that you were doing a Sherlock series, and they really evolved into the relationships between the two of you. So are you improvising at all on the set between you and Mark?
No, there's not much room for improvisation. But you know, this is a very musically tight, brilliant, conceived piece of music. You can't. It's not jazz. I mean, there's jazz in the sense of how you deliver it. Absolutely, there is. And there's always an involvement that Martin and I have with going, I'd like to try this or not that, and there's that. You know, but it's minutiae. And beyond that, no, there's no improvisation. It's about how we do it rather than what we do. You know, what we're doing is what we signed up for, which are gloriously written scripts, and it's a treat. So you don't really want to muck around with that. There are moments actually. I'm trying to think in this particular series as well, where it does get looser for good reason. You know, in every regard. I mean, psychologically, with what Sherlock goes through and what Watson goes through, and what we all go through. Which, you know, the form of it being that sort of, I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, there's a looseness, but you've got a very strict tempo to obey with the scripts. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
No, it's fine. No, not at all. Please don't. I mean, you have to understand they all flew in to come to LA. I mean, to San Diego for 2 days. I know. Sorry. People have real conversations here. My apologies. But they came here basically for 2 days, and then they're immediately going straight back to work. I mean, you guys
we did a week of night shoots and all sorts before we got here as well. Hello, that sounds like a cat.
It's a meow.
And we had a lot of cake, didn't we, Benedict?
Catlock.
We had a lot of cake last week.
A lot of cake. We had a lot of cake last week. Yeah, I had to hit the track.
Somebody's birthday.
Happy. Don't do it. Oh shit! Look what I started. Happy birthday, Mr. President.
This is the longest birthday in history.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you for your level of commitment. I like that this section was like, no, we started and we're not stopping this train.
Wow, that was weird.
Amanda, Mary's arc was incredible last week. And legitimately did not see it coming. How does this process work in terms of, at the beginning of the season, they sit you down and go, this is what's going to happen, or do you not find out?
I didn't know I was going to be an assassin until the third episode. I read it. But I'd been told by Stephen and Mark that she had a very dark past and a big secret, and that would be kind of cataclysmic in the third episode. Little did I know I'd have to shoot the hero. But when I read that, I was with Martin when I read it, and I looked at him and I went, they're going to hate me for doing that. And actually, you know, but it's what an amazing thing to play. What an amazing character to play. I think she's so well-rounded as a character, and she's tricky, and she's independent, and she's sassy, and she's dangerous. And I think that's great for a female actor to play. love it.
If the roles were reversed, would you have read the file? If the roles
I would, if I'd have, would I have read the third if I had it?
No, would you have read the file about your partner's past? Would you have
Oh
read
God, I would, yeah, of course. Absolutely, yeah, I'd read anything, yeah. Anything to do with anybody's past, I'm all over that, yeah. But no, I think that's really cool that he never reads it. I think that, it's a really good, it's a really interesting, it just means, John's moral.
It's just full of cat videos.
Yeah. And pictures of my puppy.
It's quite good though you didn't know that because you have to put all those into the first.
Absolutely, and I would have played it differently had I known that that was the outcome in episode 3. I would have played her with more of an edge and more knowing. But the beauty of not knowing was that you thought, because she's a real mild-mannered, very sweet, charming character, and actually she was ruthless. And I kind of liked that the payoff of that was so intense in episode 3.
Yeah, because now every character, the characters really could have just been all one-dimensional. I think people would have been fine with that. But now, even the fact that your character kind of makes John address the fact that he is addicted to drama and there's all this PTSD and all this danger stuff that's going on.
They're all flawed. That's what I love about the writing. Every character in this series is flawed in some way, and that's so much more interesting to watch and to play. I'd much rather watch a flawed character. Because you kind of then, you can't help but like them, or you judge them, and that's what you're supposed to do, I think. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to judge your characters. And I kind of like that.
Mrs. Hudson, I'm getting
Oh,
more.
yeah. She suddenly comes out with all these things, it's like, you were married to a drug dealer? How is that possible? It's just, but it's totally plausible because of the writing. The
But
writing
it's
is
Una,
so
that's why it's plausible.
How had you planned that, Stephen and Mark? Had you planned that arc from the very beginning of that season?
What the Amanda one or the?
Yeah, the Amanda.
Absolutely. I think we deliberately made the show a bit lighter in the first 2 episodes, so veering it towards comedy almost, so that and you get sort of a third of the way into his last round, and it's still quite funny.
Yeah.
And then she turns round, and everything you've been told up until that point is a dirty lie, right? Which I always like that to happen at some point, because that's the truth of your life. Everything's lying. An assassin.
So all those moments, you're keeping an eye on all those moments that are seemingly innocuous moments, that are very subtle, that people would never point out. Even just she has an amazing, eye for detail and she remembers things. You've already planned which scenes those are going to be, but you don't tell her because you don't want her to...
Well, they wanted it to be perfect. They wanted her to disguise to be perfect. But if you do look at it, she works out the skit code in a moment, and you see Sherlock register, that's odd, and then get carried away with saving John. You see it happen, the speed with which she remembers the room number and the sign of 3. All those things are there.
Blizzard of words around it. It says lie, amongst all the others. Yeah. He's sort of subconsciously plotting those things. But actually, there's there's an actor in this series who has to sort of have pretended to know something, and he was unsure about what he knew when. And I was sort of trying to take him through it, and eventually I said, just pretend you know nothing. And it is actually easier when you're trying to disguise yourself, rather than playing the result. If you're actually saying, oh, I have a secret, it's actually better not to know, because then you don't present anything.
Right.
And then we don't give anything away to the audience. There are no tells.
Right. The Victorian special was amazing, Abominable Bride. I think I sort of expected it to be, this is a standalone, this is a separate sort of fun thing that we're going to do.
Well, you expected that because we explicitly told you that's what it was.
Yes.
She shows the power of lying.
Back to Trump! Yay!
Someone's going to make a meme of your face, Stephen, and it's just going to say, liar, 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 liar.
Secret Bib Dem.
In fairness, I do say that I'm lying. And then I lie, and people get cross.
But maybe,
about the fact that I told you.
Maybe you're lying then. It's like trying to answer the question, is it opposite day? You can't answer that question.
You can't lie all the time. You've got to lie some of the time. That way no one can trust you at any point.
Write that down, kids. Write that down.
That's how it works.
The basis for marriage.
There's the big
Hello.